Thanks for logging back in. Here are some helpful tips on how to find neutral positioning. For instance, when you go about doing the neutral positioning, we already talked about how you can use the glide board for when we're talking about, let's say, pelvic placement. In terms of, here's Nicole. She's going to help us. If you tuck under all the way, and then you arch all the way, and then you have her shoulder girdle stay very, very still, and then she tucks under and then presses back. This is part of our foundation class. We've reviewed this through our trainings. But now let's take it one step further. We don't usually want to have someone just learn neutral positioning when they're in a static position such as sitting, because in everyday life we're moving. So what we want to do is perhaps introduce finding neutral when the person's doing a dynamic exercise like footwork. So let's have Nicole place her feet on the toe bar. You can feel free to go into a V position, or let's just go into the parallel position. You can have hip distance or shoulder width, whatever's comfortable. And she's going to roll on back. And my cue during this exercise would be to have her just bend her knees and straighten her knees as if you would go about any one of the footwork variations. And then I would say to the class, let's tuck the pelvis under as much as possible and have you go through the same motion. I might even have the participants put their fingertips on their low back so they really feel their spine pressing into their fingertips. Then I'd say let's arch the back. Now be careful that it doesn't go into the thoracic spine, it's just the lumbar spine. So now she arches the back and feels her spine move away from her fingertips. Then I'd say find somewhere in that middle point between all the way arched, all the way flat, and that will be your neutral positioning. So letting them feel the extremes has them come right into that midpoint in an easier way. So that's some things you can apply when you're doing pelvic positioning. Let's have her come all the way up. She can place her feet on the struts. Any one of these tips in terms of finding the extremes of the range of motion can be used for any of the alignment exercises. For instance, even with shoulder girdle placement, arms can come up to the ears, she can reach all the way up, then come all the way back down, and then find somewhere in the middle, and then that would be the midpoint for shoulder elevation and depression. And then bringing the arms back down. So hopefully this helps you out when you start teaching your classes, that you can start to incorporate some of the neutral positioning and finding that midpoint during all your exercises so that your participants become more familiar with that nice biomechanical position. Oh, FYI, before I even let you go, I do want to let you say that when you start to find the extremes of the motion, sometimes people will say, ow, that hurts, especially when doing the back or doing the shoulder girdle placements. So what I'm going to tell you is the first thing you say to your class is everything's kept pain-free. That includes even going to the extremes of the range of motion. So thanks for tuning back in.